Thanks for tuning in to watch The Ordinary Filmmaker. It's Tuesday, October the 19th, 2021. I want to take you back in time to April. That's when Canon provided a development announcement for the Canon EOS R3. This surprised me for three good reasons. One, we hadn't received any rumors at all regarding a camera called the R3. And in fact, number two, we had received many rumors that we were going to be getting a development announcement for the Canon EOS R1, but that didn't happen, and we've heard absolutely nothing about the R1 since. And three, when's the last time you heard of a 3 series camera? Yes, we did have one, and it was a long time ago, but in a shrinking market that's been shrinking since 2011, I don't understand bringing out a new camera. Now, some of you thought, well, look, Sony just came out with the Alpha 1, and it's way better in specifications than the R3, so Canon was really planning the R3 as the R1, and once they saw the Alpha 1, they decided not to put it out there. And I don't really buy that for one very good reason. We already had the R5, and what does the R5 have to do with it? Well, Canon's 1 series camera always provides better video and stills than all the other cameras it has beneath it. And the problem with the R3, based on the development announcement, meaning it only had 4K, is the R5 had it doubled by 8K. Yes, there's record limits, and yes, there are some other limits, but still, it provided better video specs with 8K RAW. But the other question is the R3 the acting default de facto flagship camera for Canon right now? Because if we look at the specifications, the R3 is actually better than the 1DX Mark III in almost every way. There is that fact that the 1DX Mark III has dual CF Express card slots and the R3 doesn't. That's really, really annoying, but I'm willing to let that one go. So let's take a look at the processor. We have a 20.1 megapixel processor on the 1DX Mark III. Now the R3 has a slightly better megapixel rate as 24.1 megapixels, but unlike the 1DX Mark III, it's back illuminated and it's a stacked sensor, all developed by Canon. Now, it still uses the Digic X processor found in the 1DX Mark III, but we do believe that it's been improved just a little bit. Not a huge amount, maybe there's some, I'm not going to speculate, but we've heard rumors that it is improved a little bit more. It also has the eye-controlled autofocus. It's the second edition of this. This was last in the EOS 3, and it's been brought back. Basically what you can do is when you're looking through the EVF, whether you're doing video or stills, it will actually use your pupil and tell where you're looking at and lock focus on what you're seeing. It also has better autofocus in other areas too. It has animal and human eye detection, but unlike the 1DX Mark III, it has vehicle detection as well. So better autofocus. ISO, well, it can go up to 102,400 or extended to 204,800. And the R3 really clobbers the 1DX Mark III when it comes to video. 6K, 60 frames per second, RAW, 12-bit. And that 30-minute record limit, it's been extended. They didn't get rid of it. It's now 6 hours. I could imagine the boardroom setting, and I'm picturing Casey from Camera Conspiracies doing his black and white where he's having Jenkins speak up. I can imagine somebody in a committee in that boardroom saying, you know what, let's just go ahead and get rid of that 30-minute record limit. And half the room said, yeah, I agree. And then some guy named Jenkins puts his hand up and saying, no, let's not do that. That would be silly. We want to engage our customers by having to press buttons. And why don't we just extend it to 6 hours? Have you tried recording 6 hours of 6K video at 60 frames per second RAW? Do you know how much storage that takes up? I don't understand why they would put in a 6-hour limit. Why not just remove it altogether? It doesn't make any sense. But apparently Jenkins went out. Other video features, it can do 4K 120 frames per second, uncropped, and it can shoot in 10-bit 4.2. So it clearly beats the 1DX Mark III in the video camp. Now it doesn't beat the R5. The R5 can do 8K RAW video, but it does have the overheat warning, and it has a 30-minute record limit. So while the R5 does have better video specs, the R6 is more video capable, if that makes any sense. So I think that the R3 has basically become the de facto flagship camera for Canon. Kind of like it's in an acting role. It hasn't got the full-time job yet. They're trying it out. When are we going to get the R1? There's absolutely no rumors, nothing since last year. And what I'm suspecting is the rumors for the R1 were most likely for the R3. And now we've got absolutely nothing because the R3 was completely silent. Maybe Canon was leaking stuff about the R1 just to create noise because we didn't know anything about the R3. Okay, sorry, I've gone down a rabbit hole. I'm rambling on too much, but I thought it was important to compare the R3 back to the 1DX Mark III and the R5. But what you really are here for is you want to know when this camera is shipping. Well, in September, Canon said that they were going to be shipping sometime in November. We now have what we believe are highly reliable dates. Take a look at this slide from B&H. You can see up in the top, expected to ship November the 26th, 2021. That's pretty good, right? What? Not good enough for you, you say? You want something a little bit more credible? Okay, well, how about this one from Canon USA? Ships November the 26th, 2021. The Canon EOS R3 is going to start shipping at the end of November on the 26th. How much inventory do they have? Who knows? How long will it be in short supply? No idea. If you do want to get this camera, I highly recommend clicking on the pre-order. I've got a link in the description down there for you so you don't have to go searching for it, to B&H and Amazon. All right, let's go back to the R3 because I want to look at this camera. I still find it's a rather strange camera. It almost doesn't quite fit. It seems like one of those hanging chads. It's acting like the flagship camera. It's better than the 1DX Mark III. It's performing better than the flagship camera in most areas, but it's not a flagship camera. All one has to do is look at the Sony A1 or Alpha 1 and we can see that it's got a 50 megapixel sensor and it can shoot 30 frames per second. Now they are JPEG, but it can shoot 30 frames per second and it can do 8K video. So 50 megapixel sensor, 8K video, 30 frames per second. And then we have the recently announced Nikon Z9. Now Nikon's more or less been teasing us. They haven't given us a full announcement. They've done a development announcement, but every week for the last 2 weeks, they've dropped a teaser video. And we know we're going to get 4 because if you go to their website, they show 4 spots for 4 videos. The first video was showing the back end of the camera and that variable angle screen. The second video last Wednesday showed off their video capabilities, that it can do 8K DCI and can record outside in relatively hot temperature for 2 hours without any overheat or record limit. And that's significant. No overheat, no record limit, and that's really significant. So we're going to have another video most likely released tomorrow, and I'll be on top of that as soon as it comes out. And then we can expect another one next Wednesday, which leads us to most likely a week later, we'll get a full-on announcement of the Nikon Z9. So we got the R3 compared against the Z9 and the Alpha 1, and it just doesn't seem to compete. It seems a lesser camera. And that makes sense because it's not meant to be a flagship camera. But where is Canon's R1? Sony was the first out early this year with the Alpha 1, and now Nikon is coming out with their Z9. There's nothing from Canon. No development announcement, no leaks, nothing, just the R3. There's a big hole there. And it isn't the only hole in their lineup. There's also below the R6. Yes, we have the RP and the R, but they came out such a long time ago, and the R was more or less just a mirrorless version of the 5D Mark IV, which came out, what, 2015, 2016? That's a long time ago. So those two cameras haven't aged well. So we got a huge gap at the bottom and a huge gap at the top end. And I have no idea when we're going to see the R1. We've got no communication and no rumors, nothing valid, nothing this year. So we'll just have to wait and see. But long and short of it is the Canon EOS R3 is going to be shipped November the 26th, 2021. And just one more thing, please go ahead and click on subscribe and like, just reach over, click it. I know you don't want to get up, but it's free and it really helps us channel grow and it does me a big favor. But that's all I really wanted to talk about. Just a quick behind the scenes. I've been shooting for about an hour and a half. I shot for about 40 minutes because I just couldn't get my words out. I had just had dinner and maybe that was why. You know, after dinner, after lunch, I'm not always the quickest creature on the planet. But I kept making mistakes and I thought, oh, these are silly. And the mistakes that you can't just fix later, they weren't at points where you could cut it out. So finally I recorded and did it well, and then I looked around me and I'd left several lights off, and I just thought, you know what, no, do it again. So I took a break, went upstairs, took care of my son. He's playing outside in the backyard right now. came downstairs and shot it again, and I had about a minute or so of just trying to get the intro right, and then everything just seemed to fall together. Unless, of course, let me just check, am I still recording audio? Yep, audio looks good. And I can see the red ring on the Ninja 5, so the video's recording. And based on looking in the Ninja, I don't see any issues with the color profile I chose. Oh, it's just one of those days. It was a good day so far, and then I don't have an hour and a half in my day to waste with issues and re-recording. This is kind of one of those days where it just kicks the stuffing out of you. I'm exhausted. So I'm going to quickly go upstairs and edit this thing, put it together, and then me and my son are going to play a little bit for the last hour before he goes to bed. You ever had one of those days? Is this one of those days for you? Anyhow, let me know what you think of this video, what you think of the information, what you think of the R3, and most importantly, tell me what you think the specifications are going to be for the R1 and when. Are we going to get that camera? Do you think Canon's going to let Sony and Nikon have the market for a year or two before they release their R1? We'll just have to wait and see. But thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.